Welcome, everyone. Thanks for jumping on. Feels like it's been a few weeks since we've been here. Okay, it is 1 o'clock or 10 o'clock, depending where you are. So we will go ahead and jump in. As you can see, we have the Finlocker team on with us again today. We're going to be diving into a little bit of a demo, a presentation that they're going to walk through. So we're going to focus on a few things. Some of this you may have seen already, but we just want to make sure that there's as much training around all the features on both the admin portal side of things and then the user experience side of things. So the big focus today is going to be the admin side of things. So going into the Finlocker app and looking at your dashboard and your client activity and things like that. Chris is going to touch on what is available right now. And then there's also some features that they'll be rolling out in the near future that he'll also touch on. So I will turn it over to you guys. And if you have questions throughout, you can put it in the Q&A or the chat. We'll try to address those as they come.
Great. Thanks, Val. Thanks everyone for joining. You can just a little check. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm going to run through just a couple of updates that were done this last week, actually releasing the mobile app on Monday. And then that'll lead into the admin stuff that Val was mentioning, because there's some updates there that'll be very interesting for you guys for you'll start seeing it next month, but I want to just set the groundwork of what we're doing. So just a quick easy one for a lot of you that have been already created your accounts like last month. You've probably seen a banner up at the top that says there's a problem enrolling Chase accounts. That has since been fixed. It was actually fixed on web several weeks ago. We got it fixed on mobile as well, so that banner is no longer there, and all of your clients can enroll Chase accounts now with no issue. There is an OAuth process that it steps them through. It's fairly straightforward and it guides them through that process, but Chase does require an extra, at least for an initial account linkage, an extra step in there. One other thing is our property value. We updated. So before it was CoreLogic and it was updated every 90 days. We just recently updated this last week to Home Scout, or Quantarium is the actual AVM provider through Home Scout. And so you'll see a lot, you should be seeing a lot more accurate estimates. In some cases, people's estimate was just fine. But what we found is that Quantarium has a much higher percentage rate as far as accuracy. So I would actually like to hear feedback for any of you that have enrolled your own properties if you're seeing an updated value, if that reflects a better or worse, whatever, but that is there. Currently, right now, it's just pulling in the initial value as a point of conversion. But pretty soon we'll actually be pulling historical values on that value. And then in addition, as opposed to updating every 90 days like it was, it'll be updating every 30 days the value. Questions there. Ethan, Val, I'll let you guys, since we're navigating through this, if there's questions that come up, just stop me.
Yep, you got it.
Okay, so we just talked about the Chase banner, that being fixed, the AVM. One of the other items was around the terms of service updates. So you're not going to see it just yet, but either later this evening or tomorrow, basically within the next 2 days, everyone has a locker will get a notice saying the terms of service update. So for a new user, you're really not going to see any difference. It's going to be the new terms of service. And for existing users, they're going to be prompted to accept the new terms of service. They have the option to decline, but if they decline, they will not be able to access the app. They can re-log in and accept if they did it in error, or if they change their mind, they go back and accept, and they have a 6-month grace period to do that. But if they decline the updated terms of service, after 6 months, we'll be deleting their accounts, because we have to have that acceptance terms of service. Again, if they decline, they can still go back in and do it. It's not like they lose access if they've made a mistake. But as part of this terms of service update, this is where it becomes relevant for the Art of Homeownership and Neo partners, is there's going to be an optional pop-up that you get. When I say optional, the users don't have to necessarily agree to this. It's basically stating that you would like to share additional data up front, and if we get the consent, then we can show some more unanonymized activity data. So if your clients are asking you, it's not like we're going to share what's in their bank account and very sensitive information, but it's more activity level information. So you, as your mortgage advisor, can see how they're progressing along their journey and reach out when it makes sense, and vice versa. They can reach out to you, but you'll be able to, should they accept, they'll be able to to do that. If they don't accept, that's fine. It'll get this screen that says, they'll give them another prompt, are you sure? And if they don't want to do it and they don't want to accept, all it's going to do is they're still going to be able to use their locker. They're just going to be anonymized on your view where I go into this admin portal view. And then they can always change this at any point in time. So they can, do the consent later. So then now they're working through the locker and like, okay, I get it. I want to accept. They can do that, or vice versa. They can always remove acceptance. I know, privacy is king for a lot of these consumers. So they have full control as you're talking to the, your clients. They have full control over what they want to share when they want to share.
Chris, just a quick question there. Do you see mortgage professionals have a process to kind of encourage their clients to opt into that?
Yeah, I do, because I think it's really down to, people get concerned when it's like, okay, now they can see everything. That's not the case here, and I'll show that to you here in a second. It's just that activity level. So, have they enrolled the property? Have they enrolled their credit or accounts? Have they set a goal? What is that goal? What is my percentage level to that goal? So it's really not overly sensitive information. It's things that can help them with their trusted mortgage advisor to help them along the way. And, and it's also a way for them, the mortgage advisor not to have to unnecessarily reach out and bother them if they're not, if they're seeing them progress and they're making good progress, or vice versa. If there's things that they think based on their conversations before were key, that they use some features, they can reach out and just say, hey, remember we talked about credit simulator function to get your credit score up? I see I'm enrolled in credit. Let's get enrolled in credit and start using that to help yourself. So things like that, as you start navigating through the app, and we'll go through more questions, we want to dive into deep sections. I think it's just pulling out that pertinent piece of, for each one of your clients, where they're really trying to focus on, what are their goals and what they can use in the app. But providing that data sharing consent allows you as a loan officer to see how they're progressing, and I'll show that here. One just call out. So I mentioned that the terms of service will be done within the next couple of days. That doesn't mean you're going to start seeing unanonymized data right away. What we're doing is we're getting we're going to start tracking to see how many people are opting in. And then once we hit like a critical mass, we're going to enable that. So I don't have an exact date, but it's probably going to be sometime early next month where all of a sudden, and we'll notify all of you that this anonymized data will then start turning into unanonymized for those people that have consented. Okay, so leading into that conversation, we jump into the admin portal. So this is where, like right here, it's it's anonymized, but let's just say Val consented. This is Val's account. We're going to see Val's email address, so you're going to see who that person is, and then you're going to start seeing some of this data. So when were they last active? When did they accept the locker? We haven't gotten into personas yet. We're still kind of working that out with the AoH team of how that might be applicable. So don't worry about that right now, but how many financial accounts have they enrolled? Have they enrolled in credit? Have they done their profile, so setting their objectives and everything? Have they enrolled a property? Do they have a goal? If so, what is that goal and what's my progress? So in this particular case, this person has a home goal and they're 23% of the way there to that home goal. Have they run readiness? So that just gives you an indicator of, are they really trying to assess themselves for that next step, whether that's buying their first home or buying their next home. That's this, an indicator that you can reach out. D is not applicable for you guys. And then soon, probably later in the year, we're going to have income and employment that they can enroll. That's not there today, but we had to put it in the admin portal just now as a placeholder. So when that functionality comes to play, it'll already be there. So again, this is anonymized today, and I'll show you some other ways where you can track data down to the consumer today. But when we enable that and start unanonymizing, you'll be able to see all this activity at the user level, assuming that they consent. From there, you can then start filtering on your clients. If you want to start by when were they last active, did they have done a profile, have they done mortgage readiness, have done goals? You can filter by all of these different things, and then it'll bring you back the subset list of whatever you're filtering for. So let's go to today. What can you do as far as activity dates? I know those questions that came up from several folks. So when you go into your invite section, you're going to see all of the people that are assigned to you, and you're going to see who they are, first name, last name, or email address, and really it's their status date, when did they sign up, and when were they last active. And I'm in a view that's showing everything because I have an admin, but this should just be assigned to you. And then you can filter by, accepted invites. For you guys, since you're inviting outside of the system, it really will just only be accepted invites. So that's really today what you can see on terms of the user getting down to that user level. You can see other data on terms of just aggregate that's anonymized. Click here. And so you'll be able to see things, just general activity on Locker. So use the credit score of your users in there. So 19 of these people in the AoH instance are in the 740 to 850 range. We are in talks with TransUnion to be able to share at least ranges down to the consumer. We haven't gotten permission yet, but we're making progress there. So I'd say by the end of the year, we should be able to tell, like, for example, if a particular consumer you saw was in that 601 to 660 range, but they're really trying to get to 680, we should be able to tell you that by the end of the year of, they've made that jump to that next milestone on credit, for example. The other piece of information that you can do today, this is assuming that they get to the end of the process. It doesn't necessarily have to be the end of the process, but they use the share center within the app. And that's, I'll show you right here. Then just flipping back to the consumer view, the share center here. They can use this. The typical use case for this is them starting that mortgage application process. However, it doesn't only need to be isolated to that. So if you're trying to do a review with finances, for example, they can still share their finances for you. And this is where we start sharing PII information. So if a user does that and they share that, they elect to share information, you're going to get notified as the LO that Brian View elected to share with you. Once you accept that, you're going to then see the information that they share. So it could be all those assets and liabilities that they digitally enrolled. If they have documents that they upload in the library, they'll be able to pass that over to you. So it's a good, yes, the primary use case is for the starting the mortgage application, but if you're doing any sort of other review, they have one place to just go pass all this information off to. Excuse me, I'm going to turn this on. Do not see. I'll pause there. Was there questions that came up? Well,
Ethan, so Dan is asking about if their credit is frozen, it's giving them a hard stop. Can a client participate or get enrolled without unfreezing their credit? So Ethan had said they would need to unfreeze their credit with TransUnion before enrolling. So would they be able to refreeze that after they do enroll?
They would, but they wouldn't get the update. So every week we update every 30 days, they wouldn't get the update because that's just a hard stop. They've selected freeze, so TransUnion is not going to send an update. Now, if they froze their credit just at Experian but didn't freeze it at TransUnion, then it would still work. But if they're frozen at TransUnion at the time of enrollment, they will not be able to enroll. Or if they're already enrolled and they freeze it, they're not going to get the update to that.
Okay, got it. That should be it as far. Oh wait, maybe not. Will you be launching a phone widget as well that consumers can install to see a quick summary of their cash versus credit, similar to mint.com?
So ask the question again, please.
Yes.
I think that's the David, there's an app version of this. I'm not sure if David's aware, but that's it's all on there. Unless there's something different. If you want to unmute yourself or raise your hand, we can.
Okay,
yeah,
David.
I can try to explain. So not the app itself, because I'm familiar with the app and going in and using it on your phone. What I'm asking is mint.com and some other sites that you can actually install widgets on your phone. So perhaps if you're looking at the screen on your phone, you don't even have to open the app. You can just see at a quick glance, what's your assets versus liabilities, or what's your cash versus credit, or different versions of that. I'm just curious if we have anything in the works for that yet, or if we can maybe put that on the radar, because it's something that just over time I've really enjoyed having using mint.com myself.
Okay. Yeah, we can put that on the radar. It's not on the radar at this point, but what you're saying is you're not even logged in and it's giving you those just quick glances.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, we can put that on the radar and just evaluate that with the product team. It's not there. That's a good call out.
Cool. Yeah, just a thought. I appreciate it.
Thanks, David.
Dan had a question which says, if your bank's not on the list of banks listed, are we not able to add our assets?
If they're not listed, you're not able to add the assets. However, what I would say is it's helpful for us if you submit a support ticket on that. What our process is we go to our data aggregator, Fiserv. There have two things that happens. One, we check their known issues list. So they're constantly adding more, and then in inverse, some are falling off because of whatever updated rules a financial institution has done. So we can either give you, when you submit that support ticket, we'll either tell you, hey, it's on the known issues list and here's the potential resolution and when, or if it's not at all, we submit a ticket with FISERV and we see what they can do about that. Again, that's a continual process because they're adding more all the time, and then some do drop off and they have a watch list on their side. What particular institution, if there is one?
Should probably write it in the chat. Great Basin Federal Credit Union.
Okay, we don't. Ethan, would you mind taking that one back, and we'll do some research with FISERV, and then like see care credit as well. Yeah, we'll do that. Some of the smaller credit unions, I'll just be honest, all data aggregators have some issues with just hit or miss on what credit unions they have, but we can always put in a request and see what they can do about it.
Well, I think that was it as far as questions for now.
Okay, so one other thing that Val had sent me in terms of feedback is what kind of messaging goes out to the consumer. Answer this in two ways. So right now they're going to get notified, if the credit score increases or decreases. There's a hard inquiry if they've, had a sub budget set and they're on track for the budget, or they went over. It's just simple notifications. Those are going to be like in-app notifications that they're going to see up here. We do have some other things, and I just can't speak to exactly what's happening because we're still kind of defining this with our home ownership and Neo. But we have abilities to do like journeys for, credit journeys and account journeys and, whatever it is. And then also we're talking about with our home ownership about levels of push notifications. So to be able to like do a push notification to schedule your annual review. So there's more to come on that. And you'll see as this is going on, we're very tightly knit with our home ownership Neo. Each and every month, you're going to see new and new enhancements coming out here. So that is on the radar. I just can't speak to exactly beyond the budgets and goals and the standard ones, what we're going to do just yet, but there are some capabilities and we're just defining that with AoH and Neo.
Chris, one thing that I also got some questions around, and Ryan, maybe this is something you can speak to as well, but is there any sort of client activity or anything that you can see from the admin portal side of things that should encourage you to reach out to a past client? So whether they're like reaching milestones, if they're setting certain goals, like, is there anything along those lines that you've seen people really have success with?
Yeah, that's really one of the reasons why we're doing that updated terms of service, so we can get more information up front. So today, it's really more about the activity when they're last logged in, and the normal checkpoints. I will say, by early next month when we anonymize those people for the consent. Yeah, I think all of these things are depending on what the goals are for those clients. You'll be able to see what they're doing, or if they're not doing it, then you specifically advise them to go here to do whatever, to do X, to improve your credit, or get your whole financial net worth picture.
Yeah, well, what I would add to that is, if you're a client success manager, or if you're an originator and you're doing your annual financial review with the client, you want to and try and find them here, assuming they're anonymized, and just make sure that they know what they have access to. Right, if you see a lot of no's, right, make sure they understand how important it is to have their credit up there and their profile and property. And then if they don't have a goal, help them set one. Most people won't set goals for themselves. It's just not normal. So, let's say, look, even if we fall short, let's just, try and plan for an investment property or move up, whatever the case may be. And then you always want to make sure you have your readiness there, because sometimes people go from not even thinking about wanting to buy a home to a week later, they find a home and they want to buy it now. Like, you can push your entire package over to us and we can have your loan approval in a day or so. Right. So just encourage the clients to utilize the application, encourage them to be, engaging with it on a consistent basis, and then to gamify it for yourself. That number in the top right, the 62 new users in the last 7 days, try and break that record every week. Right. Because the goal here is not, again, it's not to how many loans we close, it's how many families we help. And that number continues to go up, you'll just get to do both of those, right? You'll see both of those numbers rise.
Cool. Good stuff. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've gone over the platform twice now. I'm happy to do another overview, but I also think it might be better if there's particular areas that people want to jump into and see more or get questions answered. I'd like to start there just so we can be targeted, but if not, then there's a couple of things I can show.
Yeah, Chris, maybe just run down the things on the left there, right? All the little things. So the homepage, understand that.
Yep. So this is, and some of these you won't have access to. It's going to say you're not authenticated because these are privilege controlled. So some of these are administrative levels. So like Val, you know, for example, might have some additional privileges just because you're administrative of the portal. That will be updated in the future where you won't even see the icons if you don't have access to it. But your biggest ones are this homepage. So you're just seeing general and aggregated thing, anonymized data, what's going on. Again, this will be things that when we do that consent, this will be unanonymized, assuming that they consent. This is your shared information. So this is getting to that PII if they elected to share. So they can go, if the person has shared with you, they can share how much is in each bank account, documents, anything else there, the liabilities. So again, this is thought is around starting more application process, but you can use this with your clients if you're just wanting to pass information, just do a general check-in. If you're doing an annual review, this might be a help as well if you just want to share this off, if they don't want to do a screen share, for, you know. Lockers we went over, but again, I encourage you to play around with this filtering functionality. It's really cool. You can just do a lot of different stuff here. And then your invites is where you're going to see who's coming in. So if you've invited people and they're jazzed about the app and you're not seeing them registered, maybe it's a follow-up. Hey, I didn't see you registered for a locker yet. And that's where you can see who's registered, when they were last active, and then just their general location. You won't be able to see, you'll be able to see this, but there's only a few things you can do just on your own. These are all just administrative functions. But when we talked about notifications, here's right now they're turned off again because we are still reviewing all of this with AoH and Neo. But these are some of the alerts that can be done for it. So like, you know, are you on budget for the current month, current quarter, these type of things. And these are things where we can actually customize the message.
And what is it that you're trying to, what is it you need from us on that, Chris?
We're working with Nikki just to go through that because this works in concert with our journey messaging that people get through email or text. So, you know, for example, if someone registers for a locker, we have the ability to kick them right off on a credit journey to prompt them to enroll in credit, give them education around credit, why it's important. And it comes under the AoH brand or the Neo brand. And then like if they sign up for credit, we take them off that journey because they're already on there and we can put them on accounts or a property journey or whatever. But it's an intelligent journey. This is just kind of more status updates. And the other thing we're reviewing with you guys, Ryan, is how we do this with push notifications. We don't have push notifications today, but that should be coming before the end of the year. And we'll put in some specifics in there for our ownership. Got it.
Okay. Yeah. Val, just let me know how I can help on this part of it.
Cool. You got it.
So see a question here. Is it possible to pull up reports that show total number of users the ability to into Excel? So great question. Yes, the short answer is yes. If you go into your invites page, and again, this will just be limited to you guys as users, to who is in your there. Like Val can pull something on the entire article ownership or Neo. But if you come in here to invites, you can click this CSV and then it'll export this information into a CSV. And I just saw another question. And then we have some other analytics that I've shared with Nikki that we're going to be sending to them just on an overall LO report that says, you know, how many lockers, how many people in those lockers have been assigned credit or at credit enrolled, accounts enrolled, that kind of thing. So there's some aggregate data that we're going to be, as a corporate level, be sending, and they can, you know, our ownership and Neo can disseminate the way they see fit. I see one, would it be possible to update the congrats message to include being on budget in addition to under budget? Yes. Yes, that is a possibility. And again, that's just going back to our review with our ownership. So that's functionality that exists today.
Hey, Chris, we got one a little earlier asking if there's any plans to integrate with HomeBot eventually.
I can take that. Right now, there's not a plan to integrate with HomeBot team just because that's not really on their path. And, if we do this well, there may not be a huge need for it, but I know it's obviously super helpful right now. So we probably won't see any sort of integration on that in the near future, other than us continuing to improve upon the property side of it on our side.
If you don't mind, I could add to that too in terms of some
Yeah.
functionality that might help with this from the Home Scout we'll be providing.
Yep.
So and don't have an exact date, but probably early Q4. Right now, when a user clicks out to go to Home Scout, they're just taken to the Finlocker Home Scout page and they can go search. So like if I just click out here, it takes me there, and the app, it just says a little pop-up in there, so it doesn't like take them to a web browser. But what we will have the ability, we're in the process of integrating further with Home Scout, so our user will actually be auto-created. So think of it like a single sign-on in Home Scout, and when they do, they can claim their property just like on any other thing, and we will be sending them we'll be sending a home valuation, just a digest report similar to like a HomeBot. So that will be coming, where that monthly report for your clients, they'll be getting, but it's just not there quite yet because we need to do that.
Yeah, that's great. Couple other things. One, timeline on being able to add more real estate properties.
Right now, we don't have an exact timeline. It's on our radar. We've had the ask. What we're finding is that a large part of our consumer base does not have multiple properties, so which is why it's not prioritized as high as some of the other things. I would say it's probably more like an end of the year type item. It is definitely on a roadmap, but not there yet.
Okay. And then Toby's asking, will users have the ability to add any and all financial institutions eventually, similar to Mint, like Amazon cards, store cards, etc.?
Yeah, I would say no data aggregator is going to have 100% coverage. There is a 90+% coverage in terms of all institutions today with our data aggregator. Those are just that continual constant thing that we can do. In some cases, we'll be able to add them. Again, it's helpful, your client base and you yourself are submitting support tickets of what your requests are. In some cases, financial institutions don't play nice with certain data aggregators, for lack of a better term. Mint kind of has a little bit of advantage with certain institutions that block everybody else, but besides Mint, because they have, a 20 million consumer base. So they have some buying power with integrating for some institutions that normally block folks. But short answer is just submit in which ones you're not seeing, and we'll just get you answers back on yes, it's coming, or no, it's not, and here's the reason why.
Cool.
There was another question. I'm going to bring Mark in to talk because he has his hand raised.
Go ahead, Mark.
Maybe that was an accidental hand raise.
I think he typed it in the Q&A as well. Is it possible to have the website? Oh, go ahead.
Am I on?
Yep.
I was just curious, on your website, are you attached to an IDX where like our clients can go ahead and through the site search for properties other than going through Redfin or Zillow or anybody else, or just kind of like, connect it with us through the website?
Are you talking like connected to us like branded, or just making sure that they can do property search without going to like Zillow or Redfin?
Exactly. So they just go to our, the website that you guys have there's like an IDX that's already attached to the MLS, and they can go into and then just search properties through that site, as opposed to going to Redfin or any of those other sites.
Yeah. So right here, and it's both in mobile and web, there's this Home Scout property search. So they can search here. Right now it's just branded, Finlocker, but whatever they're searching or doing here, we're not selling those leads out. That's not doing it. That's just contained. In Q4, we'll have the ability, if you are a Home Scout client or already have that, we'll have the ability to brand that. And then also like AoH as a brand as well, we could replace Finlocker. But our Home Scout, I know a few of you are Home Scout customers. In Q4, we'll be able to put in your direct URL where your picture is going to show up, and you're going to be branded the whole way through.
But so my question is, if you take this right here, the Home Scout, And I'm using your guys' website. So is there a link on the website when they're going through the different buttons to go ahead for search properties, and they can go ahead and just go right through my website into Home Scout and search properties?
Yeah, that's here, right here.
Okay.
This
Okay.
Home Scout widget, and it's both in mobile and web. So they just
Okay.
click here and it takes them to right here.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Anything, well, Chris, sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but I was going to say, if anyone wants to focus in any certain area, to get Chris to walk through it, just put it in the chat and then we can kind of focus on that for part of the webinar. But any other functionalities you were going to show, Chris, go ahead.
Just because as we're rolling out, I wanted to just, I'd love to get feedback of where we want to dive into, but just a reminder, as you know, this, as we're showing here, is a fully baked account, meaning that they've enrolled in everything. But when a user comes into the web and the mobile, I'll show the mobile here in a second for a first-time user, they're just going to see the credit and accounts, and then the information and the offers from AoH, and then the moving services. Once they start enrolling in credit and accounts, then a lot of these other widgets start powering up. So we're trying to focus them in on, the little touch things that they need to do to then power up the app, and then start showing them more stuff as they're powering up the app. So let me do this. I'll show you a new user experience from the mobile, because again, we don't have an update on AoH yet, but across all of our customer base, about 70% of the consumers are mobile first. So this is a new user experience for that. So you have just the three main things to do: the credit, your accounts, affordability calculators, some just general information. This will be rotating, updated, education links. And then there's also this little quick links function on here. So I press that plus button that was down at the bottom right here. And this is just intended another way for them to prompt them to doing stuff. And so as they're adding accounts and credit, those will disappear because they've already done it. And then they'll always have the ability to go to the moving services. And then they can directly add a support ticket from here as well. Great question. So I saw, how do we get the spending wheel to show up? What's associated bank accounts? They said, yes. So it is. I need to digitally enroll your accounts, and then this will auto populate. And it's not just from current date, because a lot of the institutions were able to pull 12 to 24 months of transactions. The more institutions you add, this will dynamically update. So as soon as you add one, it will update. If you add a second, third, everything, and it'll start doing this. And then you can go back months. Even if I enrolled in July, a lot of my accounts will pull back the historical record. So from day one, they can go back and take a look back and see their spending analysis month over month. These numbers are crazy because these are test accounts and test financial accounts, which side note on that, I know some people are sensitive if you want to share with your client your own personal information. I believe we already sent out or our ownership sent out test financial accounts that you can enroll. Let's see. I hope I answered the question on spending, but please let me know if there's something else. So the income field is based on the profile, or if you've entered it in the calculator today. By the end of the year, we'll have, just like you enroll accounts, we'll be able to enroll your employers. So then once that is there, then the income will just auto-populate from that account enrollment. But you have a couple different places to do it. You can update in your profile, you can do it in the readiness, you can do it on the mortgage calculators. And then the other piece, which I do think I actually use this on a daily basis, detailed budget. This is the one that we crafted with some HUD counselors, but this is an area where they have to go in and enter their income one time, and then month over month it's tracked. So consumer go in here, enter their gross income, their taxes, and then it'll do their net income, and then month over month it just tracks against that.
Chris, you had also mentioned the dummy bank login account. For anyone, we were getting a lot of questions around that, creating a dummy account to walk your clients through. So I just sent an article on our support page in the chat. So feel free to save that link, because that will walk you through how to go about setting up the dummy account.
Yeah, again, Ryan or Val, for specific areas, if no one's speaking, I'm happy to jump in. I know everyone's, busy here, so you guys just let me know.
Ryan, is there anything else on your end that you wanted to walk through?
No, I think this is it. I just think that, when we think from a mortgage and real estate professional perspective on, how we should be using this and what we should be measuring our level of success on, you want your clients to be more successful after they work with you. And this is a strategy that helps them do that. But they're not going to do it unless you understand it, unless you explain it well. Keep in mind, you're not a technologist here. Right? So if your client reaches out and wants to know why this is happening, why that's not happening, how do we deal with that, Chris and Ethan? Like, if we get an overwhelming amount of people, hey, Ryan, thanks for sending me this thing, but this account's not working and that account's and this isn't happening and that's not updating correctly. How do we best handle those types of questions so we're not like a client support specialist for the app?
Yeah, I would just say, both in mobile and web, there's a support function right here, and that's exactly what that's intended for. We're not trying to put extra burden on you answering technical questions. That's what the support's here for. It's not 24/7, but it's, all business days during the week, and it's, it runs a 10-hour span during the day. We respond to tickets immediately, and we continue to update. So we can take any of those, I'd say, just guide them to the support function in the app. Unless it's, assuming that's more of a technical or an app type question. If there's stuff you guys want to answer, feel free, but we're not meaning to put the tier 1 support burden on you. So, support function is the short answer.
Got it. And then when a client wants to push their data over to the lender, how do they go? Like, how do we help them do that?
Good question. Okay, so sorry, navigate real quick. In the web, it's here. In the mobile, the same thing, the hamburger menu, there's going to be the share center functionality. They're going to come in here. If they've already shared something, it's going to show what they share, but they're just going to click this new share. And what that's going to do is it's going to pull up all of the information that they've already done. So it's pretty straightforward. So I put in the income on my profile, so it's there. They're going to select loan type. And again, if it's just sharing, just to get there, they can just select anything. It kind of defaults to home loan. But they're going to go in, select that loan type, whatever they're trying to do. And again, they have to select something of what they're interested in, but it's not like it's going to dictate anything else. They're requesting loan amount. They either put this in the calculator in the readiness, the social security numbers are pre-populated if it's in there. They could add a co-borrower if they want that. But all they're going to do is verify that this information is correct. It's going to take them to this page. They're going to have everything pre-populated. This profile doesn't have a street address populated, so they have to enter that. But if they did have it in the profile, it already populate that. And this is where they would select what they want to share. So any assets they have, they can select all of them, or they can select a subset. Same with liabilities. And if they have any documents in their library, this is where they could also set it. So if they have pay stubs or a divorce decree or whatever it may be, they can just easily select all of these and they'll pass it all in one push. When they do that, they're going to consent. I won't submit because this is going to populate something, but they're going to submit it. You as a loan officer is going to get an email notification and guide you back to the portal. You're going to go back here. And it'll be on your dashboard and you're going to see the shared information, and then you can click on it. And then you can, you'll get all that information. You can also then download a whole package, which will generate a zip file. So it'll have all the PDFs. It'll do a D1C VOA report, and soon income and employment, but it's not there yet. And then you'll get all that information.
And then is there a cost for that?
There is, but right for our contract, I think that's far off from ever hitting at the moment.
Got it.
And then I think what we talk about is if we're finding this useful in things outside of starting the mortgage application, we can work with you to separate those from an actual mortgage application.
Got it. Cool.
I wouldn't let that get in the way of, we won't let economics for this, if it's a useful function, get in the way of, being a useful function for other purposes besides a mortgage application.
Right. Makes sense.
I saw a question about credit, can we show balances separately from total liabilities? I'd like to actually open that up. So short answer is it's already there in the credit report. You're all separated by auto, credit cards, real estate, closed accounts. But was there a ask more around in another section, like in spending or accounts?
Yeah,
Chris,
so
can you show
David,
the,
go ahead, Ethan.
go ahead, Val. I was just gonna ask if you could show the net worth widget, because that has a breakdown of, you know, the overall credit card balances.
Yeah, so our net worth, you get your total net worth, general assets and liabilities. So here are cash accounts. But up here, you have liabilities. And so that breaks that down. Sorry, he was lagging a little bit. So that breaks that down with all the different liabilities. These numbers up here are the ones that are digitally generated from what they've enrolled, but they can also put in self-reported assets. So I know one came up of like, what if they have a classic car or something else in their assets, they can put that, self-report that, where you wouldn't be able to pull that in digitally.
And they can self-report the other real estate as an asset right now as well, correct?
So real estate is in there in terms of if they've enrolled their mortgage balance.
I'm saying, like, if you go back to assets,
Yeah.
right? So, they have they're just taking the, okay, the real estate, yeah. So
Yeah,
other assets, if they had them and they want to self-report, or they could put it under real estate. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So any other assets they can put under other assets, but for the purpose of workaround for people on multiple properties, they can just go plug in their other property here and it'll pull into the net worth.
Got it. Okay. And then is there any way to track like net worth growth per client in a way that we can get reporting on?
Not today. What I will say though is what I showed you here that's getting unanonymized. This is just a phase one of it. We're going to be building off of this. So like, for example, as we get permission from TU, we can start sharing the credit rating bands. We probably won't ever be able to say the exact credit score, but what bands they're in. Property, once we get that integration with Home Scout, we can start saying, the property, their mortgage value, how they search for properties, so showing intent, those type of things. So this is a phase one of this. This will continue to get built out over the year and into next year.
So could I, like, if Val was my client and she's the first one on that line item there, could I go back and see what her net worth was 2 years ago or 3 years ago versus where it is today?
No, the net worth is just kind of dynamic of what's current. So there is no historical tracking on that today. We can take that back if we think that's a value. We could definitely take that back.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you guys can put that on the roadmap, because ultimately the real power in this long term is going to be able to show our clients with empirical evidence how much we've moved the needle in people's financial lives. Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Ethan, would you put that as a note? Because we're taking notes to take back to our product team and everything that came back out of here.
Got it down.
That's a good call. I see another question. Ryan, you probably have to answer this one. Would we be telling them Neo Experience or AoH?
Yeah, if you're with Neo Home Loans, it's called the Neo Experience, and it'll be branded the Neo Experience. So everything you're seeing here is Art of Home Ownership branded, but if you're at Neo, it's going to be Neo branded.
Request to show on separate summary tools on dashboard. Oh yeah, I make sure I'm understanding the question correctly, David. I think what you're talking about is like in accounts, it just has up here, but you'd like more of a summary of here's my assets, here's my liabilities, and then kind of a breakdown in those categories. Is that right?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah. So that's something that is on our roadmap. I don't know when that's going to be, but yeah, this needs room for improvement because for people who have multiple accounts here, it doesn't really give a whole lot. It was more just to get them to click in and you can see a lot of that information. And again, someone else, I think in the AoH group called it out as a great call out is, this is just however, if I enroll this first, this second, third, this is just a running thing when I enroll, but doing a better grouping of all of that. So that is definitely on our roadmap.
Chris, another thing, I saw a part of this where it showed like based on credit, like how many people you had, like what percentage were in the 700 to 719, what percentage where is that at?
That's, and you're good, going back to the admin portal. So again, your view, not the consumer view. That's in here. And the homepage. Oops, sorry. That's where it's just going to give you the count of who's in each band. And again, our aspirations, assuming we get approval from TU, is to be able to tell you who's in those bands, assuming that they consent.
And is it possible to get something similar like this in terms of net worth?
Yeah, that's a great call. I think so, because yeah. So Ethan, from adding that to the net worth comment, I think that's a great call.
Because if we can track that right on a monthly basis, even if we have to do it somewhat manually, by saying, look how many of our clients, we're in this net worth category, and then a year later, look where they are, and a year later, and so on and so forth. So even if we can just start with something like that, that's more broad, that shows us, the percentage or the net worth parameters, I think that would be a cool way to start.
Very cool. Yeah, we'll take that down. Do we have, just going on these questions, do we have fake credit credentials for our dummy account? Unfortunately, not in production. TU does, because we have to do identity verification, there is no dummy account. We have it for the financial accounts, but we don't have it for credit. What I can say though, and I do this even on sales demos and everything else, is even though your credit's there, you can say this is a dummy account. You can show the dummy accounts. It's not going to say your name or anything here. So you're not going to be able to, you can just say this is a test account. It's kind of a little smoky mirrors, but it's not saying your name anywhere on the credit report. So it is a workaround. Obviously, the financial accounts do. So it has your last 4-digit account numbers, which is why we do have test account credentials. I got one for Brent. Can I send you an email offline suggestion to my wealth manager? Yes.
Chris, the next one, I'll help you with these. The next one is, how detailed does the budget section get? And can the clients name their own line items?
Sorry, can you repeat that one?
How detailed does the budget section get? And can clients name their own line items?
Very detailed. Today, they cannot name their own line items. However, there are a ton of categories in here. So when I work in there, and Ethan, would you mind just responding to Brent with my email? Absolutely, Brent, you can send me that. I'd love to see the feedback. So what I showed you here earlier, we were just doing a glance, obviously, entering the income, but each one of these sections, if they click on it, you'll see a bunch of different categories. And the cool thing about this is these are all auto categorized. What I mean by that is, out of the box, when they're enrolling accounts, we're already getting that, and we have a lot of good categorization through our data aggregator. Now, what a user can do, they can't create their own line items, but they can recategorize transactions. So in their transactions, I'll go to that in a second, they can go and update a transaction. And there's also machine learning on the back end. So if a particular vendor, a particular item that it's just getting classified wrong, or they want to classify it a different way, they can classify it, and then on future transactions, it'll identify that and classify it the way the user wants. So it's a way for them to put them in the buckets that they want. It would be interesting, as you guys are having your clients, if there's stuff in here that is not there in terms of each of the sections, because like I said, there is a ton of line items within each individual section. And let me just show you real quick on the, so if I'm spending, for example, let me just go to, I'll just do a quick example. Like if I clicked into utilities, and this is a utility, but let's just say this, I didn't feel like this was the Sprint. I can go and update my category and subcategory and save it. And that will then reclassify in that budget section, as well as in the spending analysis. And then again, on a go forward basis, if it identifies Sprint, go forward, it'll categorize it what the user wanted to do.
Okay, I think that was all of I think that's all the questions we have in the chat right now, unless anyone else had anything they wanted to go over. Feel free to raise your hand too.
Tim, I think this is great. What I would say is there's obviously, a lot that clients can do with this app. The key is just to make sure they know the importance of why they should use it. Just knowing they have it is one thing, but knowing the why behind how impactful it will be for their future and their finances is another thing. You have to build that your process. If you don't talk about it, if you don't mention on the discovery call, if you don't show it to them, ideally they have it, as we talked about in one of the previous trainings, ideally they already have it right after that discovery call. So in the consultation, you can touch on it a little bit more. On the post-closing call, you definitely want to walk through it again with them and let them know, if they don't already have it, that they need to be downloading it and utilizing it. And then just, it's going to be part of the tracking mechanism of how we're helping them create success moving forward. So as you or your team are doing your post-closing calls or your annual review calls, take note of where they are, right? And put that in your CRM. That way the next year you can show them, hey, last year at this time we were here and now we're here. Great job. Or, looks like we're going backwards a little bit. How can we help? This is what 99% of America needs, but they don't get, right? So as Chris said, 20 million people are on Mint, but they don't get to talk to anybody, right? They have to figure it out on their own, right? This is a version of Mint combined with your financial acuity and the way that you're trained holistically to help people in ways that they would not get help otherwise. So, take this seriously. I put out a video yesterday talking about, if you guys don't know what a concierge doctor is, it's basically somebody that you pay a monthly fee, right? And they are very proactive with their medical advice and guidance, and they do blood draws and physicals all the time, and they prevent you from getting sick, and they make sure you have good health. We can and should be that same thing to our clients, right? And they don't have to pay us monthly, but our expectation is that we get to help them and their family and their friends and their coworkers with all their real estate and mortgage needs. So be proactive in your approach. Now is a phenomenal time to go do this. It's a phenomenal time to adopt clients and to start helping them plan and strategize for the uncertain market that we're in today. So this just adds to your arsenal of what makes you unique and different as a real estate and mortgage professional. So Chris, Ethan, just want to thank you guys for your time today, and Val, thanks for running this, and Art Informer's team as always. But if you guys have any other questions, we'll stick around for another minute or so and open it up.
Ryan, one thing that I think you said that stuck out to me was helping them set goals, because the clients aren't going to do it themselves.
Yeah.
So would you say that that's on the post-close call and then again in the annual financial reviews that you're helping them walk through it? Or is that something that's like too overwhelming in a post-close call?
It's a little overwhelming in a post-closing call because somebody just got done with a purchase or refinance, and they're not even going to know what that feels like for another 3 months or so, right? So the 3-month call may be a good time. The 6-month call may be a good time. And again, some of you may do these or not, but definitely the annual financial review, right? That's always going to be the best time, right? Because their life has changed, it's evolved, things are happening with parents and children and work. And we need to help them navigate that. But if, I may have told some of you guys this, but when I speak at conferences, I always ask the audience, who's almost always comprised of mortgage and real estate professionals, who here is 100% confident in what you're doing in real estate and finance right now? And no one raises their hand. Maybe 1 or 2 people, the whole room looks around like, we probably should know these things considering we're real estate agents and mortgage professionals. So imagine how our clients feel. Right? They don't have a game plan. They don't have a blueprint. They don't know when they should buy their next home, or if they should sell their current home, or if they should access equity. They just don't have that information, and they don't even have anywhere to look at their finances all in one place. Right? They look at their bank account, and that's kind of the extent of if they know if they're doing well or not. So we can redefine what it means to be mortgage professionals. We should redefine that. Our clients should expect this level of financial acuity and commitment from their real estate and mortgage professionals they work with. And now this tool allows us to do that. So go talk about it, go get people engaged, understand how to use it yourself, make it a part of your value proposition, because it absolutely sets you apart from the rest of the competition. And just continue to let us know how we can help. But to Val's point, don't assume your clients know what they're doing, because most of us don't even know what we're doing.
All right.
Questions, comments, anything else before we let everybody go here?
We will be back next week. We have another webinar. Keep an eye on the partner portal for that training schedule, but we will be here next week for a Revive training as well. But thank you, Ethan and Chris, and thank you, Ryan. And I think we are good to go. And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.